Hello YouTube, this is Neon, and this is going to be part 2 of my mini-series on love and how I visualize sending and receiving love as a means of coping with life, with my loneliness, and with my mental health status. The interesting thing that came out of my tithes and offerings and all of the personal growth reading is that ways of applying meditation, ways of applying visualization that work for me. This whole corny thing of people, God, or myself sending bubbles to myself, each bubble saying, I love you. They hit my stomach. They produce an energy that runs up my body, that lights up a neon sign that says, I love you, back, is so damn corny. Okay, it really is. But it works for me. This is not instructional because you're going to probably have to find something that works for you, and it may be equally corny to you, and it may be something that I would never do, okay? So coming into the present is one of the things that these visualizations of sending and receiving love do, which is great. Being in the present is a good thing. I don't believe that everything's black and white. Like, don't live in the past, don't think about the past, but being in the present is good. Particularly if I'm afraid of somebody, this person's going to attack me, and I begin to visualize sending and receiving love from that person, and then I come into the present, I realize, oh, that person's walking past me. They're not really even noticing me. So that brings me back to reality and to the present. Sending and receiving love does that. Sending and receiving love is beginning to show me how to remove fear. The Bible says that love casts out fear. So I find that as I'm walking down the street, particularly since I was attacked, I walk down the street in a more bold manner, in a more cautious manner. I keep my head up high. I never lower my head. I don't care if the dude's twice my size. I don't care if dudes look like they in gangs. I don't care if I look at dude and I know just from looking at the dude could beat me down. I walk, I keep my head up. I try to keep people in my peripheral so they don't just walk up. They can't walk up on me without me catching them. If I'm suspicious, I turn around like this, but I try not to make direct eye contact because dudes consider that to be establishing dominance. And if they see me look eye to eye to them, they may want to try to fight me just because they think I'm trying to establish dominance. But sending and receiving love causes me to cast out that fear and to be focused on these safety parameters of conducting myself, which, while granted there may be a boldness to the way I walk and present myself, there's not an aggressive, it's not an aggressive thing. It's not aggressive. So yeah, I'm gonna do something silly. It's hot in LA right now. It's like 93 degrees. It can get hotter in LA, but just so y'all could see just how dang hot it is, I'm in my drawers. I just wanted y'all to see that. See, I'm in my drawers. Anyway, I was doing a little bit of exhibitionism for you. So what else does love do? Sending and receiving love, this visualization. I've stayed in my room up to 9 days at a time. Don't open the door, don't go nowhere, because of my fear of people, anthrophobia. As I approach people and as they get closer to me, I can almost hear in my head an alarm will sound, like that person's finna stab me, that person's finna shoot me, that person's finna clock me in the head. Love helps me deal with that. Love helps me to not, and it's progressively happening. It's not perfected, but it helps me not focus on that alarm and that sense of as they get closer to me, and that sense of impending danger. It makes it easier for me to go outside, and it makes it easier for me to behave in a normal manner. This visualization of sending and receiving love as I approach people, something that can be very difficult to be in public around people for me. It's very interesting to me because initially I would visualize myself sending bubbles that said I love you. As I said before, initially it was humility or contentment, but I love you. And I would be sending them out to everybody who I saw, and they would be sending bubbles back to me. That didn't work. I guess it was too many bubbles. But when I started imagining them sending me love, and that love gave me the energy to light up my sign that said, I love, right there's my head, it says, I love you, this sign, so that they can see I love them back, that visualization for me began to work and began to be helpful. Now, this is something that is still evolving, just like a person's diet. A person who wants to live to be 110 years old, their diet's going to evolve. There's all these healthy foods that a person can eat, and they can learn about eating. We always want to eat healthy. Sometimes eat unhealthy, right? A little bit of junk food's okay, a little bit. But our diet evolves, our diet and our exercise evolves as we mature. And these visualizations have been evolving for about 3, 4, 5 years now. So it's exciting, it's frustrating, it's evolving, and it's comforting to have this visualization as one of the tools in my arsenal to cope with my mental illness and to really cope with being around people. Again, I've read lots of books about meditation and visualization, and I just couldn't apply their meditations to me for whatever reason. It doesn't really matter what the reasons was. But what matters is that I've begun slowly, the universe, God, has been giving me visualizations that I can work. And that's pretty awesome. Now, I struggle with sex addiction, as I've said. I've chosen not to go into a lot of details about that. But love is beginning, and these visualizations is beginning to help me to get a little more of a grip on that. Where trying to hook up doesn't, again, progressively a little less. Wanting to hook up doesn't take like half of my day or most of my day, doesn't prevent me from working out, doesn't cause me not to eat properly, because working out twice a day, you got to eat every 2 to 3 hours. So if I'm hooking up and when is this person going to show up? Is this person lying to me? And I'm focused on my energy on all of that. Sometimes I'll skip a meal or I won't work out, and it's beginning to invade that issue of sexual addiction, this visualization, and sometimes I'm able to focus and not let that take over. Okay, so it's beginning to help me there. Now, sometimes I do still have fits of anger. In the past, I would start screaming and cussing and stuff, and sometimes people would tell the manager, I think you're killing someone in his room. So sometimes I do still scream, and usually it's Neon, and that's when I catch myself about to have a fit of anger, meaning I want to punch something, I want to break something, I want to throw something across the room. Sometimes I do scream Neon, but more and more now, as I see red and I see that potential for having a fit, I started visualizing sending and receiving love for myself. Breathe deep, and it gets me calm and it gets me self-controlled. It's interesting because problems will arise in daily life that complicate things, and I will come up with terrible solutions, usually because I'm angry and not thinking straight. And as I apply this visualizing, seeing, sending and receiving love from myself, I'm finding that I'm able to find quick and effective solutions, whereas before I wasn't. So sending and receiving love is beginning to help me with a lot of the complications that life just throws at us. I've had issues with hallucinations, and again, I never tried narcotics until the age of 32, and I've had these since I was in my teens. No, it's not narcotics. But they're many and they're varied. Of me, suddenly I'm floating in the air, or my joints would start coming apart, or crazy thoughts in my head while I'm talking to people, and I would have to tighten up my joints. Or sometimes I would have to dig into myself, but I didn't want to leave scars so people would know. So what I would do is rely on tightening up my joints, which has caused some chronic joint pain. But I became aware that I was doing this in recent years, perhaps in the last 5 to 10 years, because it was just a habit. It was a way I coped with life, was tightening my joints and feeling that pain, so that physical pain would bring me back to reality. And now I can rely on love. So when I feel my joints tightening, I'm beginning to be able to send and receive love to those joints, and those joints relax. My right shoulder is one where I'll keep it either up like this all the time or keep it tense in some way. And as I send and receive love to those joints, it helps me relax the joints and helps deal, so there's less pain as a result, thank God. As I said, I don't even know where all this is going. I just know that this sending and receiving love is beginning to invade different aspects of my life and help me to cope better. And it's crazy, it's wonderful, it's wonderful. It helps me avoid, I already said that, it helps me avoid these fits of anger. Great. I think I said this in a video before, but I am a misogynist in recovery. It's despicable and it's disgusting, and I didn't even realize that I was a misogynist since all of my heroes are women of color. But I realize now that I sort of treat them like they're gods or goddesses, and that I don't necessarily transfer that to all women. So when I see women professionals talking, whether it's botanists, chemists, psychologists, mathematicians, women who are experts on insects, I tend not to take them seriously as I do with a man, where I'll kind of be like, oh, this is an expert, let me listen, let me take notice. And with women, I don't tend to want to give women that credit. And again, ladies, this is disgusting and despicable. I'm not proud of this. I'm ashamed of it. I really truly am. But I've been applying that to these women professionals since I watched so many documentaries. And I find that I wind up, when I send and receive love to these women professionals, I wind up seeing them in the same lofty position that I see the men professionals. And it's like, oh, this is a woman who really knows her stuff. I need to pay attention. Instead of not thinking that she needs to be taken as seriously. I'm so sorry, I'm not proud that this is a struggle, but I think that we can't deal with misogyny and inequity against women in this country, this patriarchal country, unless men are willing to admit to it. So in that sense, me admitting to it and knowing that I'm dealing with it in every aspect of my life is good. And sending and receiving love to these women pros and seeing them in that same lofty position as their male counterparts, that is a good thing. Put on your glasses, Neon. Sometimes I will hold grudges. Maybe somebody said something mean to me, or some guy bumped me and he was bigger and stronger than me and I was afraid, and that'll haunt me. It used to haunt me for days, weeks, or even months. And now, whatever that offense was, whether they said something, whether they looked at me, intimidated me, or whatever, when I remember that memory, I either send and receive love to that person, or I visualize myself in the situation sending and receiving love. And sometimes I can get rid of these grudges and these fears and this shame associated with these experiences, sometime in as little as minutes, but certainly in as little as a few days, whereas it could have taken weeks or months. So love is beginning to help me there as well. Love helps me go to sleep and wake up. When I go to sleep, when I wake up, I breathe in and say I am a success. I exhale and say I am a success. Napoleon Hill. I got that from one of his books. And simultaneously, I visualize either me or God sending and receiving love to myself. It helps me go to sleep. Whenever I get up at night to go pee, it helps me go back to sleep, and it's really helping to improve my sleep. So there's no end to this. There's no end to this. Sending and receiving love in the way that I do is invading every aspect of my life. It's evolving. It's continuing to help me. It's making me, even through this recording, I've done it. Visualizing, sending and receiving love, and it's helped me focus. I wanted this to be short, and it's done. This is part 2, and this ends it. I don't know where this is going to go, but I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. I plan on continuing to improve these visualizations and rely on them, and ultimately to have self-mastery, so that when I'm a dad, I don't even have to worry about having a fit of anger and boom, popping my child, because that's out of the question. So it's given me a lot of hope for my future, and it's making my life more manageable, and I thank God for this. So this concludes my series on visualizing, sending, and receiving love, part 2. That's it. Please like, subscribe, share, comment commercials, recommend my videos. If you like this video, do one or more of those things. Thank you. Best wishes.